Hey traders, Raghee here, and in this free video we're going to talk about transition and the importance of the grab candles and these kinds of assessments. And you know, the important thing to understand about any kind of transitional market is when you have the grab candles, it's actually pretty easy to understand what's happening. And I want to mention grab candles are a free alternative to Japanese candlesticks that are available on the TradeStation platform, Thinkorswim. I think they're available on Ninja, TradingView. So this is not a paid indicator. Now you have to know how to use it, but I'm going to talk you through it right now. So let's take each one of these markets. I mean, the Russell has transitioned from what was a kind of ugly, grinding higher uptrend into much more bearishness. You can see that with all the red grab candles through here. Now, I will talk about one of the setups that we are looking at in the Russell. But suffice to say, we could be at the very end, maybe the very last buy that I'm willing to take on the Russell here for some time. It's setting up on both the daily and the weekly time frames. How about the NASDAQ here? For 2 days now, 2 sessions, we've had weakness. Here's Friday's candle, here's Monday's candle. And, you know, just by a little bit, I mean, barely did we not have 3 red grab candles in a row. So even though that was a blue neutral candle, realize that that body just barely met the criteria to close as blue. So, you know, pretty much 3 down candles and almost 3 red grab candles. Well, as I take a look at what's happening in the NASDAQ, you know, one of the things we talk about in the chat room and the premium videos is understanding the heavily weighted nature of the certain tech names and the way that the NAS and the S&P tend to be very sympathetic. And then the NASDAQ itself. You know, what kind of weight are we seeing on the NASDAQ? Here are actually your top 11, well, actually not your top 11, but your top 8 names in the NASDAQ. So 1 through 8. And then psychologically speaking, Netflix, NVIDIA, and Priceline, aka Booking, it'll always be Priceline to me, are psychologically important in terms of what happens in the NAS. So that's the way I've laid this out. Well, take a look at what's pretty heavy right now. Amazon's choppy, heavy. Google, choppy, heavy. Google, Facebook's just a nightmare. Intel, right? Netflix kind of sloppy. NVIDIA's pretty sloppy. Booking's down to sloppy. So what's carrying the NQ? The heaviest weighted name. What's the difference between this thing only being down, say, 2 red grab candles and being maybe down at the 200 EMA? Apple, and probably got to give a little credit to Microsoft, and maybe a little credit to Cisco. But you pretty much have the number 1 and the number 3 weighted name holding the NQ up, number 1 and number 3. That's a scary proposition, because if Apple rolls over, if Microsoft rolls over, what's to keep the NAS from lower lows? I'll tell you right now, not much. Okay, so we have a lot of transitional markets here. You can see why. Now again, transition is how we see the green, mostly green and blue candles succumb to blue and then succumb to red. Now, am I bearish on the ES? Not yet. Pretty close. Remember, the ES is a funny little combination of what goes on in the Dow and what goes on in the NQ. So, if tech continues to be a problem, that's going to be a huge reason why the ES will trade weaker. If financials can hold their own, that'll help the S&P out, because that's one of the heavily weighted sectors in the S&P. We'll do some sector breakdown work in the premium video. And, you know, I want everyone to really remember that until we start printing red grab candles, this is bullish to neutral. I know we've snapped back pretty dramatically. Closing below basically 28.85 would cause this market to trade with a red candle, and it would immediately tell me that we're seeing a little bit more bearishness, but there's a lot of resiliency. Look at the wicks left behind. Who's still really strong? The Dow. This is a correction. And what's the line in the sand between a correction and a, correction versus crash, retracement versus reversal? Pick your switch. But as long as we stay above those yellow lines, there's a chance we can either keep moving sideways or move higher. And that really is the 34 EMA on the low. That's what I look at, that 34 EMA on the low. Quite frankly, staying above, I'd say 26.2 would be pretty important too. Staying above 26.2. Sorry, 26.1. 26.1 would be psychologically very important. 26.1 right there. Okay, gang, and that is how I'm looking at the current markets. I still have a slight bullish bias on the NQ, a slightly better bullish bias on the ES, and I'm still very much a bull on the Dow. The Russell is the one place we could think about shorts, and that would be intraday opportunities to get short. But we have one daily opportunity to maybe get long. I'll walk y'all through that in the next update. All right, gang, have a great one.